South Africans continue to flock at the late Mama Winnie Mandela's house in Soweto to pay tribute to the mother of the nation. And earlier we caught up with young people outside her house and asked them about their thoughts on the passing of the struggle stalwart. Here's what they had to say.
Because I saw her fit enough to be a great leader. She was a great leader. And also there's something that we have noticed. Most of the people, when they become leaders or when they become successful in life, they move from the places where they are staying to urban areas. But she chose to remain in this place to show that she has got love and passion for the people who are staying in this place. So that has inspired most of us, because we are 3 institutions here, universities, just to pay our respect to her.
Well, she meant a lot to us. She is an icon, and we have learned so much, from her in terms of the struggle and what it represents, for the freedom and the liberation of our people. That said, we thought it would be good, for us to pay this tribute, with our students here, also respecting, the life that she has led, teaching us, all the things that we know today, about the struggle.
And from one fallen struggle veteran to another, in our conversation with Dr. Snugi Zigalala, he also spoke of the passing of Mama Winnie Mandela.
When I was 15 years old, that was in 1966, she introduced me to the ANC, and that time she was working as a secretary for a law firm. We started discussing in the office because I was a messenger boy, and I used to deliver crockery and cutlery to that law firm. And we started discussing about politics and also about the obnoxious system of apartheid, how black people were not allowed to vote, were not allowed to move freely in their own country, that they were allowed to carry a passbook wherever they were, and also about the Bantu education system, which was very oppressive, and also it did not give quality education to black South Africans, and also how the black youth of South Africa had no hope in their own country. And then he later invited me to her house at Orlando West. There we then discussed properly and openly on how to mobilize and organize the youth to be members of the ANC, to support the ANC. That time the ANC was banned. It was not fashionable to be a member of the ANC. Currently it is fashionable. You can pay 100 rand and you become a member of the ANC for 5 years. And without knowing the aims and objectives of the ANC, without knowing what the Freedom Charter was or is currently. And so that time he then encouraged us to learn the Freedom Charter. We learned the Freedom Charter like a Bible. We knew the aims and objectives of the ANC before we were introduced to underground work of the ANC. That is mobilizing people internally underground, distributing ANC pamphlets, and also the question of how to manufacture Molotov cocktails. These are cocktails, bombs that you manufacture in a bottle, and also to plan for our own freedom fighters who are coming from Zambia and Zimbabwe, were infiltrated by the ANC from outside. And so for them to come into the country and train us as young people to be freedom fighters inside the country. We then established a number of cells throughout the whole country. And then in 1969, in May, on the 12th of May, we were all arrested. About 153 of us were arrested and were incarcerated at Kusumampuru prison in Pretoria. At that time it was Central Prison. We were held in solitary confinement for 12 months. 6 months of which we had no contact with the outside world. Our parents moved from one prison to the other looking for us, and nobody knew where we were because we were arrested under what you call Terrorism Act. We were detained and arrested under Terrorism Act. That Terrorism Act, it allowed the state to detain so-called terrorists for 180 days without trial and without them communicating with their families. And so after 6 months, we got charged under Communism Act, and we were released because they found that we are not communists, but we're South Africans who are fighting for our legitimate rights. And so we were rearrested and re-detained again and put again under imprisonment, incarcerated for another 6 months in solitary confinement. Solitary confinement meant that you are sitting in a cell, you are all alone, you just have a Bible. and you don't see the outside world at all, don't communicate with anybody. And then after 6 months, we got recharged again under Terrorism Act, and a comrade of ours by the name of Benjamin Ramutsi, who was kidnapped from Botswana and brought into South Africa to stand trial with us because he was supposed to be infiltrated into South Africa to come and train us. He got 15 years imprisonment, and we were released. We were released and banned. Not to banned under Communism Act, not to participate in any political activities or in any religious activity, or not to get into a classroom, not to meet and sit with 5 or 3 people at a time. So then I discussed with her that, look, I want to continue with the struggle because internally it was very difficult. And then she said, I can go. And so I left to reinforce and join the ANC in exile in Botswana, and where I established the ANC office, and then of course went to Zambia, Tanzania, and went to school in Bulgaria and came back. And so when I came back, I did have contact with her. I found that she was still a woman who was interested in the liberation of South African people. She was committed to the ANC. She was not a member of the ANC because of her husband. She was a leader in her own right. She was fearless. She was not afraid of the police force. She was not afraid of the security branch. And she was the person who was always interested in looking after the poor. And so I think it's a great loss for us as South Africans. And the last time I met with her, I saw her at Nasrec during the ANC conference. And we had a discussion because she was much more despondent with the downward trajectory of the ANC, where the ANC has lost 3 metros. The leadership had no interest in people. But immediately after the elections of the new leadership of the ANC and the leadership of Cyril Ramaphosa, she had hope. She was saying, now we have hope. All of us have to renew the ANC. All of us have remobilized society to support the ANC and make the ANC win the coming elections in 2019. And so she was a committed member of the ANC, a person who was passionate about the plight of the poor.